Hey there, guys. We've got news for Global on November 23rd. And this week, joining me to discuss a double premium banner, who's the best guest to bring? DBarry, can introduce yourself.
Oh man, that's so very kind and completely unwarranted, but thank you. Goodness.
So we've got Hyoin Panthera and Solitary Warrior Veritas of the Frost. Now, for this stuff, we've mostly covered the majority of this news from the live stream stuff, so we're just going to be discussing kind of stuff we've already seen. But tell me, Barry, what are your thoughts of apparently this being a global tradition of a double premium for Black Friday?
It's interesting because last year it was something we all wanted, right? A2 and 2B. One of those units was incredible and honestly still somewhat usable, and the other unit had a great STMR. And so it's really going to be very telling and interesting to see if they continue that trend or if they've done something to make both of these units have at least a specific enough niche and are also usable enough logically to justify the premium tag.
Yeah, because it is true. Because 2B to this day is still being used. I'm pretty sure I did a rank 1 clash, the most recent clash, using one of the clears had a 2B on it. Like, she wasn't like the featured unit of the clear, but she went on the party and she did good damage.
Certainly. I mean, anybody with a 150 amp can do enough. I'm pretty sure I saw some people rank wanting Hadler with him or with her too. So I mean, why not?
Yeah, definitely. So if these units are, on the same level of 2B or, Richt, etc., we'll be extremely happy. On the other hand, if they're on the level of like A2 or Wilk, we'll be very sad.
Oh God.
So, double premium, as we know, and we've got three different step ups for these. So, the cool thing is, and I'm really kind of happy about this, is on all the step ups, it's both the units. I really don't like when they separate brand new units into their own banners. I wish they would always be on the same banner, and they are this time. So, how about you, Barry? Do you prefer like individualized step ups per unit, or do you like them to be all grouped into one?
When it's a banner like this, when it's a double premium, I vastly prefer it be together. That said, if we get situations where it's a premium and a non-premium, honestly, I tend to prefer them be separate, just because if I'm pulling for a premium and I get something like, you know, the new,
Hope.
who was it, Leftia? Like, I don't want the, oh God, or Hope. Oh God, who's EX3 now, by the way? Because of the video summoned the other day. I don't want to talk about it. But there he is. He's there.
Nice, nice. So for the banners, we've got three different kind of banners. Up here, we've got the vision card banner. We'll talk about that in a minute. That's their special vision card that gives them 1500 attack power. We have to see the entire kit, but I would assume it's going to be probably their best in slot. That one cost, I think it was 36,000 or so. But I do
Mhm.
know if you go there and then you follow up with this banner down here, it's a grand total of 70,000 for one pity unit, including the card, which is pretty expensive. On the other hand, we do have down here this banner where you do it, and I think it was 36,000, and you get one of them guaranteed 50-50. And hopefully, as you mentioned, Barry, they're both equally viable, and you'll be happy no matter what you get. If that's the case, this is amazing. If one of them is a dud and one of them is great, then could be bad.
So scroll back up again.
Okay.
So that vision card banner, you can do it twice, and unless my math is
Oh,
absolutely atrocious
I
at 1 a.m., it's only 28K. And they have pity tickets up until step 5.
I
So I'm honestly wondering now if what we were pre-talking about as far as what the pity cost is incorrect.
Yes, I completely overlooked the limit of two. I thought it was a one time. I was assuming one. So okay, so it is. Let's go ahead and do the math real quick. So five tokens right here. This would get us 3,007, 12. 17, 22. If we skip the last step. So 22 for 5 tokens is... I'm already lost. I don't know. Everyone should do... we should have noticed this in the pre-setup.
Yep,
And
completely forgot. I didn't even pay attention.
oh well. So yeah, definitely, sit down, take your time, and do the math to find out the best cost. Or if you want 2 copies of the card, which I guess is a possibility, then do the top one twice. And there you go.
That's 56 for 10 tokens, or for 10 pity tickets.
Then you need 7 more.
7 more, so not quite 2 full laps of the bottom.
Yep. But as far as the units, now the units I did go into pretty heavy detail during the news video. So for this, Barry, I just want you to tell me your thoughts on the units so people can have some new viewpoints about them. So tell us about Hayo and Panthera. Do you like the unit choice? Do you like the sprites? Do you like the idea of a fire unit, etc.? What are your thoughts on this unit?
So, first of all, Hyo was one of your OG memes in FFB for people who've been around long enough. Hashtag save for Hyo. At least this time, since we found out about Hyo, we've had the deadest week known to man. So it was really easy to save your 1 week's worth of nothing for Hyo. The only thing that confuses me about the unit as it is, and obviously we get a story event, which we'll talk about in a bit, the concept of him being a greatsword unit in the current meta is absolutely vacant to me. Like, fire's fantastic. Being a decent DPS with reasonable breaks is fantastic. I don't understand the fist and greatsword unit aspect of it, because pretty much of our fire meta is sword or gun. And so the fact that he'll have to bring, and will have to dedicate potential skill use, depending on what his kit shakes out to be, to either a greatsword or a fist in peril is not my favorite personally.
Well,
but that's kind of nitpicky, admittedly. If he's good, he's good. It is what it is.
also keep in mind the greatsword in peril they previewed during the live stream was on his base form LB, which you can see right here is clearly his greatsword. They didn't show us the shifted LB, so I would bet money the shift form has the fist in peril, because they didn't show the fist the shifted LB.
I certainly hope so. And I mean, if we want to get technical about it, if we're bringing a Clash of Wills fire team, you're probably bringing Abigail, whose Limit Burst and SLB both have weapon imperils on them. So I mean, it's kind of moot in that regard, but still worth mentioning that we're not currently looking at crazy meta-relevant weapons as of yet. Now, if his kit is intuitive and makes it easy enough to provide those imperils, then I mean, whatever. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Although, shouldn't we have technically gotten the Dark Vision's two-handed greatsword by now? So.
I don't actually think there's a two-handed greatsword. I do know, I'm pretty sure we're overdue for at least one batch of two-handers. By memory, I don't recall what they are. I think the gun, maybe? I don't remember. But also, just so you know, a reminder that last year, 2B, she had like 6 or 8 weapon imperils in her kit. Her shift form imperils like 6 weapons. So maybe Hayo is like, a Swiss Army knife, kind of like Abigail, and does all of them.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at a hybrid kit of, 2B and Richt, then I mean, this could be one of the best units we've gotten all year.
And
not named Richt.
I certainly hope so, too, because, as I've said before, I really like Hayo, the unit. I think his sprites look really cool. I'm hoping his animations are awesome. But most importantly, I'm hoping the kit is really good and cohesive and makes sense. And here's the important thing also. And this is something that players really need to keep in the back of their mind, is we've only got approximately 2 months, maybe, until we get a huge power jump into NeoVisions Plus.
Mm.
So if his damage is like on par with what you would expect for right now, that might be good until you take a step back and think, is this going to last long term? So, that's definitely a decision. You've got to decide for yourself. Do you want to maybe save in the short term, maybe miss out on short term strong units in order to save for long term, or do you want to invest in a unit now, which might potentially only have a 2-month lifespan?
I guess the other end of that coin is, though, as soon as we start getting 1000% leader skill NV plus units, will his power tier jump again to become at least more relevant?
That is true.
It's just how long until we get 1000%. But then
Mm-hmm.
again, it's global, and so getting us 1000% Clash of Wills fire tag leader is probably a really good idea. So who knows? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Maybe a certain Lunar New Year unit wants to appear who could have 1000% Clash of Wills fire skill and use a bow. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
That would be awesome. That would be amazing. But yes, so also on Wednesday evening, as usual, once we have the full unit data on the wiki, I will take a look at these units and do another video to give you my final impressions of, good or bad. And then the other one is Solitary Warrior Veritas of the Frost. So this one we know from the live stream is an 89 breaker. Other than that, we had the fields, we saw the leader skills and all that. So what are your thoughts on this one, Barry? So Veritas of the Frost, kind of like a strange choice, huh? Of a unit.
You know, I'm kind of pumped about it because I like it. I like that they gave it back its imagery that makes it look like Meta Knight from Kirby, which is great. Um, but I'm not upset just because the only Veritas of the Frost unit we have was such an absolute garbage throwaway kind of okay TMR unit that we barely even talk about now. My only concern, again, if we recall the last Black Friday, is again, we had a great unit with infinite uptime Brave Shift and then the unusable SLB unit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
here we see which one has the SLB now. I I shouldn't do this because I'm jaded enough to never do this, but I'd like to give Gumi the benefit of the doubt that they learned from the mistake of A2 to make this an actually viable unit outside of a leader skill. We will see, but I do like Veritas of the Frost. I was really hoping for more story back in season 2, and the little sprinkle that we got existed and didn't at the same time. So seeing some story actually play out will be kind of nice. I love lore. I'm well documented in saying that. I wish the lore didn't include a unit that was basically the entire topic of a full story season as well, but because there's so many undeveloped units in this game. But if it does give me some information about Veritas of the Frost, then I'm all for it.
And actually, that is true. If Global wanted to do this in the future and just make more global original units that are based on underused units, like Season 2 has a huge cast of characters that was just never
Hmm.
got units. They were underdeveloped. One that a lot of people always would ask for. I can't think of his name. Oh God, it was like the male healer guy type in season 2. He was a bad guy. He was like the underling of Distork, and
Oh
what was
goodness.
his name? People used to always ask for him as a unit in season 2.
Oh
I
gosh.
can't think of his name. He was like Distork's underling that
Uh-huh.
Distork would always like abuse, and then eventually, well, spoilers, he got his revenge in the end. What was his? I can't think of his name either. But he was like a heavily requested unit back in the day. People kind of forgot about him at this point.
Yeah.
But stuff like that, like I said, Distork is another one that just didn't really have
Hmm.
any development after he went away. Dark Elf was another one that was that's from season 1. But Dark
Hmm.
Elf was a unit that we actually saw him in a trial come back, but he'd be awesome as a unit. Stuff like that,
Hmm.
just some ideas.
Even the Hess Sage, was it Behemoth or Bahamut or
Mm-hmm.
whichever one the lion dude was, that would have been great. I mean, there, yes, plenty, plenty, plenty. and not
Mm-hmm.
to mention any of our fantastic precursors that just really deserve something.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then Vision card. So this one is the premium Hyo card. We know it's pretty good. It's basically a better Richt card for specifically Fire Clash of Wills units. It's good. If you wail hard enough, you'll get it. And then the same thing for Veritas of the Frost. It's basically Rick's card, except it is attack defense instead of attack magic. So again, it's better for just all Clash of Wills physical units because they don't want magic anyway. This can give you a little bit of bulk. It's pretty nice.
So here's where I get very interested because if we are in fact talking about the step up card being their best in slot, why would we ever chase an EX3 premium?
Oh well, the
At that
reason
point, you settle for EX2 and you move on.
well the reason is because this you give to a different unit. Like this
Sure.
you put on Richt or Lilith, etc.
Well, you couldn't put that. Well, that one, yes, you could. You couldn't put Hyo's card on Richt. That's specifically Clash of Wills Fire locked.
This goes on Dwayne or Ayabrea.
Brea. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So these are still very, very good cards, but yes, for the units specifically themselves, they are going to almost definitely want this card because of 1500 attack power, and that is a pretty big deal.
hmm
So what are your thoughts on these cards, by the way? I've seen most people seem to not like them. Other people say, they were going to do the step up anyway, so they don't really care. What are your thoughts on them?
They have to be more than just flat stats. I'm glad to see at least in this one, you get 100% LB damage, you do get 80% attack. Um, you do get killers, which I mean, killers is great, even if you know it's probably two of the most common killers that we have in the game. But it's nice to at least see killers. I'd be much happier if there were three or four 50% killers, or if it's going to be two, at least make them 75%. Because 50 is a pretty awkward number at this point when we're trying to fill. If we're trying to build units that don't really have them, then it is what it is. But if these units follow the JP premium shtick, then they'll probably come with 250 innate killers. So I guess it really depends. You're obviously not using this or these cards not for the two units that they're for if you want the full effect. But I mean, you could because only the 1,000 flat is locked behind. So I mean, it's a decent bargain card for a player who doesn't pull for EX3 premiums. I understand why people don't like them, but at the end of the day, I mean, 140 base with 500 flat and 80% attack and 1,000 or 100% LB damage. I mean, you could do a lot worse
Oh yeah,
than these cards.
the card's really good. It's basically just a flat out superior Knight to Grand Shout premium card for everyone.
hmm
Yes.
Which you remember back in the day, all the controversy around certain content creators having three of them and people saying, I can't do this clear now because I didn't pull for three EX3 Knights of Grandshell. Like, and now here's this card that you just get by getting a unit you want. It's funny how time makes you forget irrelevant things.
Well, don't forget also now the Knight to Grand Shout card. That one did survive the test of time for a while. It obviously got
Sure.
crept eventually, but it lasted a long time.
Oh, certainly.
The Dark Rain card got crept like a week and a half later. I remember, like I think it was like the
Oh.
Dazzling Demoness came out like right afterwards or something.
hmm
It was crazy. Like immediately it got power crept, and that was disappointing.
It really goes to show the disparity between a good physical attack and a good mage card, unfortunately.
Yep. And then we've got the story event. You just said you love lore, so here's going to be some lore for you with Hyo and Veritas of the Frost. Some forgettable equipment. Actually, this equipment is the highest evasion headpiece, which is super awesome.
No, this equipment is some of the best new player equipment that I've probably ever seen. And evasion on a helmet it's cool. I mean, I certainly see situations where somebody might want to use it,
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
but most people who've been playing a while don't need it. But new players, I mean, that helmet is an absolute essential. for anybody whose account is less than a year old, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And now, if you look right here, test your resolve against a challenging enemy. In the quest, fighting is won. A powerful foe will appear after dealing ice damage to the enemy 3 consecutive turns in a row. And as we saw from the live stream, that is going to give you a hidden difficulty, which is strictly for the enjoyment of doing a hard challenge. There will be no extra bonus, no tangible bonus for doing this. But do you intend to do this, Barry? Or are you going to try the super hard mode, or are you going to skip it?
I mean, I would love to try it. I kind of wish they didn't tell us how to do it or how to unlock it, I'll be honest. I kind of wish we could have just stumbled upon it organically, but
Ooh,
it's only a matter of time before somebody found it and then it was all over the internet.
I
I don't
dis-
know.
I disagree with that entirely. I've gone on a whole rant about these obscure, like, hidden mechanics that almost require a data mine. I don't like those kind of things. If you remember, the best
Yeah.
example is the Telfusana fight. Do you remember that fight, Barry?
Oh, it's my favorite content that has ever been in this game.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it was. But let me just remind people one of the triggers on the final version after they fixed it. One of the triggers, which we only knew because of data mining. The trigger was on the second fight, you had to get him to under 5% health without killing him. Then you had to stall and then use a limit burst for 5 turns in a row while the boss is under 5% health without killing him. That would activate the boss to then emote and not zombie you going into the final stage. Do you remember that?
I sure do.
And do you think there is any chance in bloody hell that that would ever have been discovered without a data mine?
Absolutely not. And you know, this is completely off topic. I'm so sorry. But the only thing, like, I wouldn't have cared about that mechanic at all. Just zombie me, let it happen. If they hadn't, not long before then, went back and nerfed Myra's LB, which used to remove zombie. And they took that from her and then gave us Telfos. So if they had just left that, it would have been a do you have Myra to make your life easy and ignore this obscure mechanic? And no, 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 that was no longer a thing.
But yeah, so hopefully, the hidden difficulty will be very fun. And as just a thing, just a totally tangible thing, I am a little disappointed that they're doing this week because I'm going to be like busy on Thursday with Clash of Wills, and I want to get to this like right away. But Thursday is also a holiday for my region, and like I'm going to be super busy and rushed to finish Clash of Wills and get out of there to go to a family dinner later, and I'm probably not even going to have time to get to this until like at best late that evening. It's kind of disappointing. I would have like as you said earlier in the video, the current week is the deadest week ever. I would have loved to have made like 3 or 4 different videos on this thing this week. Like I don't like how they just stagger stuff where it's like empty, empty, empty. I'm dropping 6 different contents at the same day. You know, like spread it out a little bit.
I really do question giving us a live stream a week before this maintenance, and then intermediating or just throwing nonsense in between. Like the fact that we had nothing other than events ending this week is it's so genuinely questionable. Like they didn't give us a story update. They didn't give us a quote unquote trial that they should have given us a long time ago that the data already exists for. They just had to give it to us. Even if it was a nothing, it would have been something. It just shows, I don't know, my hope is that maybe they've been spending the manpower this week to try to figure out what they're going to do with this compensation
Oh
shtick.
Lord, we are going to talk about that at the end of this video.
Indeed.
And then the other thing I just wanted to bring up real quick, if you do the step up on the banner over here and you get these little purple summon tokens, you can use them this time for fragments of the 4 off banner, on banner, rate up type units. So Last Will Dark Lineage, Bewitching Warrior Yish, Loving Father Saz, and Genesis. I do believe we were talking earlier, and this is the first time that we can remember them doing this on a premium banner. And that's pretty
Mhm.
cool. I kind of like that a lot.
I do too, and these are easily the most, I don't know, easily the units I've been the most pleased with if they have to be on-off banner units. Because I mean, you're obviously never going to use Lastwell Dark Lineage outside of, Okoing stuff in Dark Visions with an ice team, but he does have the premium ice card. So for those who are building towards getting him in the shard dungeon like me, if I happen to snag a Laswell Dark Lineage or two, then now I have the premium ice card, which you can immediately stick on Veritas of the Frost in lieu of taking 2 laps through the or EX3ing him. Genesis is obviously still incredible. Saz could be worse,
Mm-hmm.
certainly. And I mean, Yish is brand new.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes, what she's 3, 4 weeks old at this point. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
why not?
Yeah. For me personally, I'm just speaking strictly personally. This is actually again the best lineup for me because I need one more Genesis for EX3. I don't have Saz whatsoever. I do have an EX2 Yes, and I have an EX3 Dark Lineage Lastwell, actually. I got him really early,
Mhm.
like the week after his banner, and then I stuck him in the Shard Dungeons. He's been there for like 6 months, so he's now EX3 for me.
Mhm.
But still, Genesis is the big one here, and Genesis is still extremely meta relevant and going to be even better with the new Hayo propping up the
Mhm.
fire party. So, this is definitely a real nice change right here.
Mhm.
And then the last new news is the Clash of Wills. So I said in my little live stream update video, I think this boss looks like it came straight out of Breath of Fire. Do you
Mhm.
agree with me, Barry?
Oh, easily. It's like if Breath of Fire and Xenogears had a weird kid, and then they took down the saturation on the sprite about 10%, then yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. So the weaknesses are fire, ice, water, and light. Now, recently, they've been doing it to where there's only really one or two real weaknesses, and the others are
Mhm.
like more like a neutral element, where the ones that aren't listed are completely off limits. But I would assume just because the most recent boss was water and light, these are probably going to be like not real weaknesses. They're just going to be neutral. So it's
Mhm.
mostly going to be fire and ice, I would assume. We don't know.
I sh I should think so. I mean, I don't know. This would be very generous of them to let you bring your Chow that you pulled for a long time ago and make it not that bad to use in content. Or your new Tyvis that you pulled for not that long ago. Sorry to all the Roka fans, but everybody else, that's cool. With how many great fire units we have in the game, I don't see why anyone would bring anything not a fire team for this, especially considering the typing of the races for this boss are probably the easiest we could have ever asked for. I mean, those are the
Mm-hmm.
3 most common killers that we've had in the game for 6 years at this point. So, I mean, I'm excited about this because it will be the first time that I feel like it's not going to be ripping teeth out to team build. Because,
Mm-hmm.
like, how many things do you have offhand that covers at least 2 of those races? Because it's many.
Oh yeah. If you bring, no, she's not technically going to be on the fire team, but if you bring 2B, she
Hmm.
covers the human machine right there, and then demon could be like you wouldn't really want to bring Sylvie, I guess. You could.
Mm-mm.
I don't know.
Doesn't Dark Lineage Fina cover a couple of those? Am I
She does.
remembering that?
She does human and demon. I don't think she does machine, but she does human and demon. Hmm.
Yes, that sounds right.
Yep. So there you go. And like I said, on Thursday, it is a holiday for me, so I will try to, depending on when the server comes up, of course, the server is late, then I guess I won't be
Mhm.
able to, but I'll try to live stream this in the morning. We'll go in here, we'll see what we can do, and then depending on how long it takes, we might or might not get a rank 1. What are your predictions, Barry? Is this going to be like a rank 1 in the first hour? Is it going to be a super super hard, takes days to figure out. What do you think?
So we were talking about this a little in our prep before. Um, Recently, the second boss of a quarter has been broken in some way. Um, so I don't know. It could go either way. If it follows how it used to be, then yeah, I mean you should be able to rank one this within a blind hour. But if there's a broken variable of some sort, like an unending imperil hell, then maybe not. Maybe not.
Barry, a bug in Clash of Wills, as if, as
I'm
if.
so I'm so sorry. What was I thinking?
Yep. So we will see more of this on Thursday. And then the last thing just to mention is, they did say that they're going to be mailing out this whole compensation thing to all the players. They did not give a time. We will update at a later date, and because we don't have any news, it seems the later date is not going to be this week. So unfortunate, considering we're getting a double premium banner, which is, just to be honest here, probably the reason we're not getting into this week.
Hmm. I mean, maybe they just ninja drop them into our post maintenance login. I just don't see. I don't know. I don't see a 20K gift showing up on our doorstep. Fortunately, premium banners tend to last a little longer, so we could at least see the World of Visions rewards before then. Um,
Yeah, until December 13th.
yeah, all right. So we'll at least get the World of Visions rewards before then, although that's shorter than how a lot of premium banners have been. That feels because that seems like it's only 3 weeks, isn't it? Yeah, it
Looks
is.
like yeah, yeah.
That's way shorter. So, look, would any of us be surprised if we didn't get this magical 20K until after these banners ended? No. In the grand scheme of things, are these units probably going to be crept by February? Yes. So, I mean, it is what it is. The 20K would be nice. Obviously, I really want at least Hyo. If Veritas of the Frost is good, I'd love at least, EX2, because that tends to be not an impossible ask depending on how banner structure works. But I mean, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. We have, if we get truly objective about this, what is the last content that we got that required you to pull something new? I'll wait.
Um, I mean, to rank one in Clash of Wills, you don't always need that month's unit, but you definitely need newer units. Maybe not that
Definitely.
month, but recent.
Definitely. So for Clash of Wills, sure. When's the last time getting a rank one Clash of Wills even felt worth it though? I mean, we're all, maybe not all, but a lot of players are overloaded on Xenostone. There's no Lapis reward of any sort for rank one. The rewards that you can re-roll for, okay, at best you get four-star tickets. It's just, it doesn't feel rewarding so much to really push a Clash of Wills ranking other than to stockpile Xenostones so that when a new piece of equipment comes out, you max it out day one and you move on with your day.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Outside of that, there just doesn't feel like there's a reason to pull for anything anymore because there's no content. And so unless you want to fight with RNG and re-roll over and over and over to nickel and dime your way into six higher rankings for Dark Visions, in the grand scheme of things, these units are great and they'll probably carry a casual player for a long, long, long time. But why do we care anymore? And it's kind of sad to say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To go back to what you were saying about the Clash of Wills thing, I've mentioned that before. That the main reason I try the rank one Clash of Wills is because I enjoy the challenge and the fun and the satisfaction of doing it. But in terms of the actual rewards for doing so, They really do need an overhaul. Absolutely, absolutely needs
Mhm.
an overhaul because not everyone does it for like the thrill of the hunt or whatever you want to call it. A lot of
Mhm.
people only do it because of the payout, and you need that payout to draw in the audience to keep them engaged. And yes, the rank one
Mhm.
Clash of Wills rewards need some kind of overhaul to draw in a bigger audience because like it's the same thing every single month is in the Clash of Wills chat, you'll see people talking about it. They'll go on there. They'll be like, "All right, I want you to give me some tips for the boss." They go on there. They try it once. They're like, "This boss is irritating. Forget it." And someone will say like, "But your team can rank one." They're like, "But what's the point?" And that's
Mhm.
that's a problem. That's a real problem.
Now, I want to say this with a caveat. In no way am I suggesting that they make the rewards so decent that they take away shared rank one. That's
Yes.
never at all my point. If they ever, because they tried this once, if they ever intentionally and permanently remove shared rank one from Clash of Wills ever again, that content will die because nobody will want to participate unless you know for a fact that you're going in with a fully loaded EX3 team and either have a macro or the patience to run it over and over and over again to maximize your RNG roll. It's just not going to happen. Um, but Vision World has shared 10,000 lapis. The fact that the rewards for Clash of Wills are completely devoid of any kind of material payout that you had to invest in order to get the unit to rank one, assuming that week's new Clash of Wills unit is required for rank one, that you get no lapis return on that investment is honestly fundamentally flawed at best and tremendously worse than that at worst.
You
But like there's so much, I don't know. We could probably go on this for a while. It's
and you see, and I actually am kind of enjoying this discussion. So I will just say for people that are listening to the news video, and if you're like staying tuned in because you want to hear more game news, I will tell you the news video is basically over. So
yes.
if you want to, you can, the news video is done. But I am kind of enjoying this discussion though. So Barry, you say you think the solution to this is to basically add lapis to the rank one rewards, kind of like Vision World, right?
Part of it. Yes, I do. I think that is something that is tremendously almost negligent
You
on
see,
their part because you need to invest lapis a lot of the time on the new unit because that's part of the draw to the content, but you get no return on that investment and they keep removing sources of free lapis from the game.
you see, I disagree entirely, and it's not because
Mm,
lapis is not good. It is absolutely. Give me all the lapis possible. It is the primary currency in the game. Totally agree, but I wouldn't really get excited about that. Honestly, like I mean, yes, I would cheer for 10,000 lapis, 100%, no question. But when I say I want better rewards, I'm looking for unique stuff. Like I want
mm.
the reflect ring in a rank one reward. That's an extreme example, but that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. And before people jump on me, I also completely see the other side of the coin because if you did put these unique, powerful, meta defining items and put them behind a rank 1 reward, you are not giving it to 98% of the population. I also see that viewpoint, and that's a fair viewpoint. But I still think that you should really strive for and have this hard, strong desire to get rank 1 and push yourself to get it because the reward is so worthwhile. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an all or nothing situation. You know, it can be kind of like how they treat Galvanite in Dark Visions now, where all the way through, the top 1,000, you can just create another currency because God knows they've done enough of that at this point. Just create another currency that you can use to exchange for things like the Reflect Ring, if that's the direction they chose to go. They could also throw some of their previous armory killer materials in there because those have kind of been some of the best things that they've ever put into the game, short of the old Clash of Wills exchange materials, which they could also put into this exchange shop. Because, for people who consistently rank one, if you choose to, you can blow all of your, you know, flavor of the quarter shards on the new materias for that quarter, and then you're left with units you potentially don't care about, or you just get the tickets and then you have leftover of that currency that you now have to sell off in your inventory, or you hit max materials capacity for the first time in 4 years, just like I did the other day. And so I mean, there's ways to do this that don't have to be just Lapis. Now, I do think honestly that Lapis has to be part of it because that will draw more people. If for no other reason, people will get rank one because if they don't, that's basically missing out on, assuming they're able to do it, of course, but they're missing out on 10,000 Lapis return. When pities are now, 42 to 53K for a non-premium, 70 plus for a premium, unless you're lightning. It's we have to be able to recoup some of that cost because otherwise the economy of the game is so heavily skewed towards the few people who still put money into the game and everybody else. And what it does is it gives players who don't necessarily spend but potentially have been around from the beginning and have well-built accounts, it gives them incentive to actually try for no reason other than now they don't have to save for 4 to 5 months just to pity a single copy of a unit that is power crept in 3 weeks. So Lapis at a bare minimum has to be something that they start to factor into all of this if they're going to keep changing Clash of Wills to make people want to do it. Because as it is right now, you can make it as interesting a content as you want, and if there's still fundamentally no point in pushing for a rank one, that means there is no point in pulling for the new unit, and if nobody's pulling for the unit, the game dies.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You really got to incentivize people to want to pull.
You have to. And the easiest way to do it is if you pull for X unit and you do this content and that unit helps you get 10,000 lapis. Yeah, if there's two different pieces of content every month, if only there was Vision World every month and not Dark Visions. But if there was two pieces of content every month that returned 20,000 lapis, then feasibly, within 2 months, you have enough to pity a unit. Whereas right now, they do not give you enough free lapis per month to pity a unit ever.
Oh yeah. For people that followed along, I think it was October. Leo post a summary each month on Reddit of the amount of free lapis that was available per month. October had a massive downtick. I think it was like I forget, but it was something like 15,000 less than all the other months.
Oh,
October
jeez.
was a huge downtick in free lapis. It was crazy. It was crazy. So
That loss of 15,000 lapis is so staggering. I mean, wow, okay. I hadn't seen that. All right, well, so
yeah.
like case in point, honestly, now all of a sudden you inject 10,000 into your player economy because it, from a pragmatic perspective, okay, for people who spend incrementally, maybe once in a while, maybe they get a fountain, potentially a bundle. If you knew that you were potentially 5,000 lapis away from being able to pity a unit that you really, really wanted, and your polls went terrible, and you didn't get anything that you wanted, there are players who would potentially go look at the bundles to see, okay, do I want this unit enough to spend 24.99 American on this bundle that gives me 5,000 lapis plus some other things because my payout is the unit that I want? A lot of that group of people will do that.
Yeah.
But there has to be a return for that investment because if I'm going to spend that money on 5,000 and I know I'm going to do content that gets me 10,000, I'm running net positive for my investment. So like we could even have a whole conversation on the business aspect of why that just makes sense. That's not going to hurt Gumi's bottom line to start including bare minimum lapis into this. Now, if they want to sit down and have a conversation on what kind of interesting things could they also put in, that's an interesting conversation. But lapis has to be a bare minimum part of the conversation to make Clash of Wills not stale.
Yep. So hopefully Gumi has stuck around in this news video for some ideas for incentivizing Clash of Wills, because yeah, the more people want to run it, the more successful it'll be, the more popular the game will be. So hopefully
Mhm.
they have listened. But wanted to say thank you yet again, Barry, for joining me for the news video.
Of course, thank you for having me.
All right, so I will see you guys for more of it, I guess, on Wednesday night, when we can go over these kits in detail and we can see how awesome Hayo is and how A2 Veritas for the Frost is.
Oh God, please no.
I hope not. I hope not. But we'll see. All right. See you then.